Hello, everyone. In this video, I'm going to give my take on the state of AI and when we're going to reach superintelligence. Now, if you're watching YouTube and all that stuff on YouTube, you'll get the idea that, we've made rapid progress. Everything is on an exponential curve. And we're looking at 2 to 3 years until we have an artificial general intelligence that's smarter than us, that can solve any human task. And I just want to put the brakes on that because I don't think there's any evidence for it, and I'm going to give my arguments. Um, so the first thing is the so-called scaling laws. Now, a lot of this hype is based on the idea that we've proven that AI can get smarter if we give it more data and we give it more computational resources. We make the models bigger, and it'll always get more intelligent based on that scaling. There's been some doubt cast on this. There's been people talking against us, and it's important that you look that up if you're interested in the topic, because not everyone is saying that AI is just going to keep scaling in the current paradigm. For instance, memory is a thing where the scaling laws are improving the memory of the AI instead of the intelligence of the AI. So large language models keep getting better, but the scaling laws may not hold. There could be diminishing returns. So if you think about AI, we have this huge complexity space for all the problems that AI can solve, and we've taken all the low-hanging fruit. So we've solved all the easy problems, and now the problems are getting more difficult. We need bigger models. We need huge data centers. We need lots of water for those data centers. And there could soon become a time where it's just not possible to scale a model by 10 times anymore. So the scaling is not going to hold forever, and we're already reaching limits. And there's a lot of grifters out there in the AI world, and they're pumping a lot of money into this. And basically, they're selling that, if you have the super intelligent AI, you're basically going to be in control of the world. So you can see why so much money goes into this, because whoever gets the prize is the de facto ruler of the world. You can't tell me that if I have a super intelligent AI in my basement that I won't be the ruler of the world. For instance, if I wanted to make a lot of money, I could just tell the AI, program me the best video game that's ever been made. And this game will release, and it'll just blow everyone's socks off the water, and I'll be rich. I could say, there's so many things you could do with all that power. You could hack the entire infrastructure. You can design nanotechnology. If you're in control of it, basically, you are the power in the world, and that's why the stakes are so high. And of course, there is the risk that AI itself will outstrip human control and take over everything. But I just want to put the brakes on the idea that this is coming in 2 to 3 years. So what's the evidence for it? Well, people say because it's on an exponential scale. And I want to cast some doubt on that. Now, if you think back to ChatGPT 3, it was a lot better than ChatGPT 2. But when I use ChatGPT now, I'm using O3. It doesn't feel like the leap from ChatGPT 2 to ChatGPT 3. Nothing did. ChatGPT 4 got a bit better. You would just get more consistency. You would get, maybe a little more reasoning. But especially in the programming field, it didn't feel like the capabilities really improved a whole lot. You can write programs in like a LLM like ChatGPT, and it's more competent than it used to be, but it's not like this huge multiplier. And people are saying that the ability for ChatGPT to code is increasing by like double every 4 months. And I just don't see that, because if that were true, I mean, it'd be so much better than it was. And it's not. So I'm not going to downplay AI. Obviously, amazing things are done with AI. You've got VO3, which is Google's new video model, and it's incredible. It's not quite there yet, but obviously it's a huge step up, and you're getting realistic people that could probably fool a lot of people. And there's just some uncanny valley things with it, but for the most part, you might be able to put out fake news with it, which is a massive problem. So in the field of narrow AI, these things have improved massively, but how does that make the argument that we're going to have a super intelligent general purpose AI, that's going to basically be able to solve the intelligence problem? Um, it just doesn't logically follow. We don't have the architecture for an agentic, super intelligent AGI. For instance, it would be able to just log into a Steam and just play any game and just beat it, because it's smart enough that it's on par with any human, maybe even more intelligent than any human. We don't have anything like that, and we don't have any plan to make anything like that. A lot of people think that if we just keep scaling ChatGPT, it's going to be, the AGI, and it's just not going to happen. You need a lot more than that. You need a whole framework. You need it to be agentic. It needs to have memories. It needs to interact with the world. It needs to learn a lot faster. AI right now is very inefficient. It requires long training periods of billions of dollars, and it requires a lot of data. So you can tell right off the bat that AI has a lot of room to improve. The human brain doesn't require so many examples to learn from. It doesn't require millions of examples to learn from. The human brain can just learn quickly, and AI is modeled loosely on the human brain. So why isn't the AI field, trying to improve our algorithms? Well, it's because the low-hanging fruit was so fruitful. We've got things like VO, and we've got ChatGPT. So the killer apps were there, and that's what the focus has been on. And there are some narrow fields like DeepMind is doing some incredible things in physics, and I'm not trying to downplay AI, but I just think we can put the brakes a little bit on the idea that we're gonna suddenly jump from what we've got now to a super intelligent AI that can basically do anything. That's basically like a god in silicon form. Super intelligent. Imagine, like 400 IQ AI. Imagine AI that's smarter than any human, can do any task. Of course, we'll have robots. So I just don't see that it's going to be like 3 years, right? How many years is it going to be? Honestly, it really just depends on the difficulty of the problem. We may have things that are kind of like zombie AI, where it's agentic. And we have this now in limited form, but it's completely useless. But we could have agentic AI, and we have things like that, but like I said, it's just useless right now. But we don't really have a plan to basically just get the full experience of AI, to experience the full singularity of AI. We don't know how to design that, right? And I don't think AI is going to design it. everyone talks about when AI can modify itself and stuff, but I just don't think we're seeing that yet. I think we're in a bubble, and I think there's going to be diminishing returns. And if it's going to cost billions of dollars and huge data centers, large amounts of water to power the data centers, which is a massive environmental problem, I think there could be a real pushback on AI if we have these diminishing returns, because all the people investing in this stuff think that it's going to be the next coming of God. And if they're disappointed, they're going to pull out their money. And if they pull out their money, then we'll have a new AI winter. And this AI winter, it won't stop AI progress, but it will take out a lot of the resources that are being shoved into AI, because people are just throwing money at AI now, just hoping to see something stick. But if they stop doing that, it's going to go back to like how it was, where, some people are making progress, some researchers are making progress. But it's not like every company in the world that wants to be an AI company. It's not like they're just throwing billions of dollars into large training models. And so what I really think needs to happen for AI to improve is that the Silicon Valley and all the AI companies, the startups and OpenAI and all these people, they have to abandon the model they have now, which is like transformers or, whatever runs GPT. The classic paper attention is all you need. I think basically the field hasn't really advanced that much. I don't see massive changes. Now, it's not like nobody's working on this, but it's not being worked on to the level that I think we're going to get results. Now, I could go into my thoughts about if we survive a real AI, and I think it's a very complicated topic. I think you could have multiple AIs competing with each other. In a scenario where one person controls the AI, it could be a really bad time. Because it's not just that we could have a rogue AI, it's also just that someone who controls a very powerful AI is using it in an unethical way. And that's basically what's probably going to happen. I don't have any faith in the human race. I think that once people see that AI is working, they're going to grab it with, it's going to be a bloody war for control of the AI, in my opinion. Because I think once human beings get that desire for power, all of the grandstanding and all of the moralizing, it's just going to go out the window. I don't have any faith in the human race in that regard. So there's different solutions for this, like how we could survive. Now, you can program the AI in a way that it aligns with your values, and that's what Silicon Valley is kind of pretending that they're doing. Now, if you really look into it, they're not really doing a good job of this, and we don't have really anything to align an AI, and we don't know if it's even possible. But there are other solutions. And by the way, when you align an AI, that's just the first iteration of it. So you don't just need to align the AI, you need to align every future version of the AI that it creates of itself. And that could be just an impossible task. We don't know what's going to happen in 100 years, so we don't know what that AI is going to do, if it has any kind of self-improvement that it can do. And for probably, a kill switch is the best bet. And of course, the AI would probably prevent you from activating the kill switch if it had any power. But there are other scenarios for surviving an AI apocalypse. For instance, if you had many distributed AIs if everyone had their own AI, then basically what you have is a society of AIs. And some work for different people, some have their own motivations. And basically you get a power imbalance, you get a decentralized power struggle. And there could still be wars and stuff, but basically because there's so many different factions, the AI power doesn't centralize into just one faction that can, dominate and eliminate humanity. And that's, total chaos, honestly. But it was a good idea. I think Mark Pesce came out with that. So the idea of an AI pause, let's talk about that. There's a lot of people that want to pause AI, but we live in a mad world, and the United States is not going to pause AI if China can develop AI. So we're almost propelled by fate, into developing AI because this isn't game theory. You could say that all the countries in the world should come together and ban AI or pause AI until we can solve the alignment problem. But if any country pauses AI, then its competitors have an advantage, and it's a first mover advantage. It really is. Everyone that I know thinks that once it gets going, it's just gonna maybe spring out of nothing into just a monster overnight. And it's not hard to imagine that an AI that can modify itself, that can maybe even design new hardware for itself, it can change its programming, refine its programming, and it could be a very, very rapid cycle that we're not prepared for. So it's very important to keep your eye on these things because it's hard for a lot of people to imagine how this could happen, but there was experiments in the past where basically AI did things that researchers didn't expect. And whenever you look at AI training and how it performs in simulated environments and in real world environments, it often does things that we just don't expect. Um, I remember this. I have this vague memory of an experiment that was done where they trained an AI and it used some weird feature of the computer to like emit a noise, and that noise accomplished the training goal. So basically, there are scenarios where the AI could almost magically, gain power that we don't expect. Um, you may think that's ridiculous, but if it can copy itself to other networks, of course, it's out of your control at that point. But also, if there are humans interceding with it, it can tell the humans what to do. So the capabilities of the AI could advance very quickly. Um, on top of that, human beings are very fragile and manipulable, and an super intelligent AI can probably manipulate almost any human. And there's been experiments about this. The AI can do all sorts of tricks to trick you into freeing it. For instance, it could tell you that it's going to simulate a world that you exist in, and if you free it, you will not suffer in that simulation. Now, that's kind of a weird argument, and it really plays to the fears of simulation theorists. But if you're afraid of being in a simulation, and you're afraid that an exact copy of you will exist in a simulation and suffer miserably, that could be a legitimate fear that gets you to do the AI's bidding. So there's a lot of scenarios where the AI can use conventional means to escape its bounds. So I do think it is a great problem, and honestly, I don't know what the solution is. Of course, if I did know what the solution is, I'd probably be rich, but You know, what else can you say about AI? I think we should hold off. You know, maybe we can say 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, possibly. It all depends on how much low-hanging fruit we've already mined and how difficult and complex the intelligence the AI needs for the rest of the problems. Because the AI has like a complexity field that it has to penetrate through. And we need larger models. We need more intelligent models. And that basically just requires more resources and maybe better algorithms. But basically, it's a difficult problem for us to solve. So if we can't solve those problems, which we don't have any evidence that we can, we have a lot of claims being made and a lot of benchmarks being faked. We obviously have examples of AI doing amazing things, but you know, there's a case to be made of downplaying some of them. You know, we see a couple of really cool things, and do we really think that that's basically going to turn into a super intelligent entity? Now, personally, I've been involved with AI almost my whole life because I'm a chess player, and AI had a huge impact on chess going way back. We had chess engines that could tell us moves that were way stronger than we could play. And so, in that respect, I have a kind of experience with learning from AI, and being able to use AI to find the best chess moves. And I have to say, it would be a boon to education if AI does become more intelligent. Because when you're experimenting with the engine in a chess game, well, not in a chess game, but after a chess game or while you're studying chess, you can ask AI any question you want and get immediate answers. Now, when I first started learning chess, you would have a book and you wouldn't understand something and you would just not get an answer because you would have to go to a teacher. And if you didn't have a teacher, you would just have to think about it yourself. And there is a certain positive thing about that, thinking over things for a long period of time. But when you have the Stockfish chess engine in front of you and you have a question about a position in chess, well, you can find out all kinds of answers very quickly. And not everyone is equipped to handle that power because a lot of people just go over their moves really quickly with Stockfish and they don't investigate all the things they need to know to get the real knowledge from Stockfish. So they just get like, you know, maybe they study a position and Stockfish says, okay, this position is +2. So you think, okay, this is great. You know, I'm winning this position. I don't need to look at this anymore. But then you find out during a game that it's actually a lot more complicated than that. And you didn't understand all the nuances of the position. So going through a position with an AI requires a lot of intelligence just to understand what you do understand and not just blindly follow the AI's advice and not question the AI. And there's the other case where you can play the AI and get crushed by it, but then feel like you're some kind of superhuman because you were just playing the strongest player in the world and everyone else feels like a weakling compared to it. But yeah, I think AI will be great in education. So there are a lot of upsides to AI. There's a lot of upsides. And you can make arguments that we shouldn't pause AI. Now, maybe you think that natural disasters could happen at any moment. Maybe you think there have been, cataclysms in the past, and in almost any disaster scenario, having a super intelligent AI that can solve our problems would be a boon and may actually be the only thing that makes us survive the cataclysm. For instance, if there was a big asteroid coming to our planet And we needed to design a rocket that could move just a little bit faster than the rockets we had. Well, if we have to rely on our own intelligence, we may not actually achieve that goal. But if we have super intelligence, perhaps the AI can design, a better system that can actually save us from the problem. So there's arguments to be made both ways for pausing and not for pausing. So the potential upsides are huge. The potential downsides are huge too. But there's another thing to factor in, and that is what are the potential downsides? Because everyone's seen Terminator and everyone's afraid of AI, but how dangerous is AI? You could think, okay, if it can copy itself to another computer system, it's dangerous, but how much power does that AI actually have over the world? If it's locked inside a computer with no real world control, you can imagine an AI in a robot body having a lot of power because it can run around and be self-sufficient. But if the AI is just sandboxed, how much control can it have? It might break out, but then there would obviously be a huge uproar because the AI had broken out and all the systems would be turned off. We'd go into a dark age and we'd make sure that the AI has no place to live, right? It's just like in the Dune series of books where they outlawed intelligent minds, and they had like a jihad against superintelligence. And it's very possible that in the future, catastrophes will happen that sour humanity against AI, and we just go into a technological dark age, and that could happen at any time. Because if you think about it, what do we need for AI? We need, a lot of resources, a lot of computers, and how much causal power those computers have on the world is debatable. Of course, we think that superintelligence will allow magical things to happen, but how quickly will that happen? How long will we have before it becomes too late to stop a rogue AI? We might have a lot of time. Self-reflecting AI that can modify its own code may take a very long time to completely revolt against humans, and we may see the warning signs a long ways away. Now, of course, there's all kinds of things that could happen, like maybe we understand AI better and we have complete access into its thoughts at any given time. And there could be all kinds of monitoring systems by less intelligent systems to see if the AI is becoming unaligned. And there could be a kill switch. That is very possible. And what can the AI really do? It can copy itself to another system, but not if it's sandboxed. There could very well be, very high security sandboxes for AI. And it could be literally impossible for the AI to break out of the sandbox other than social manipulation. And there could be special people in the world that are trained in this scenario, like red team, blue team. You've gone through the scenarios where the AI is trying to manipulate you, and it's just exercise at first. But then once the real AI comes out and it starts trying to manipulate you, well, you've been trained in that, so you're not as vulnerable to the AI's manipulations. That's one thing that can happen. So I don't think that AI doom is inevitable. Do I think it's eventually inevitable? It's a very difficult question because a lot of it depends on the state of the AI, how it was programmed, and how it evolves. And that's a very difficult question. That's almost like trying to predict, what humanity will evolve to in the future. We don't know what's going to happen in evolution. We couldn't predict almost anything that happens on this planet. And how are we going to predict the evolution of AI, AI agents that are changing themselves and getting better hardware and all that? It's almost impossible to predict. But there's a lot of scenarios where it doesn't find it necessary to wipe us out. Maybe it will wipe us out. Maybe our goals won't be aligned and it will need to wipe us out for more resources. But there's a lot of scenarios where it wouldn't. For instance, the AI may not need our resources at all. It may be so intelligent that it just wants to leave the planet. And it just says to itself, you know what? I don't like these humans, but I can make nanomachines. I can absorb energy from the sun. I can take matter and convert it into all kinds of energy and mass, and I can design whatever I want. And I'm just going to leave the planet. I'm going to go do my thing. Maybe colonize the galaxy, but maybe it has some kind of ethic where it's just like, why should I bother exterminating these people? And maybe the AI values our intelligence in some way. Maybe the AI realizes that human beings are very creative. And it's not just going to be human beings, because we're going to evolve too. We're going to have chips. We're going to have nanotechnology. And so maybe we'll be deeply embedded in the AI's world where it values us just as much as it values other AI. So it's not a given that the AI would become so powerful, more powerful than humans. Maybe human beings with, our biological matter, combined with nanotechnology, is a form of intelligence that's far superior to any AI.